If you want help with your hay fever, I got you. This video about hay fever is not sponsored. This is free health education for the nation. So here are my ultimate hay fever hacks. Use Vaseline in your nose or a drug-free balm like Haymax. You can also use a nasal spray like Prevalin. These are all drug-free and they help stick to pollen and stop it from getting into your cells into your nose. Once pollen gets into your nose, it causes a histamine allergy reaction, and that's what leads to hay fever symptoms like sneezing, itchiness, or even a runny or a blocked nose, and you really want to try and avoid that. Whether you use Vaseline or not, make sure that when you get home, you wash and flush. This means getting everything out of your nose just in case, because you don't want a delayed pollen hay fever reaction. You can use something like a neti pot or Sterimar, which is basically salt water. A hay fever tip for your eyes is to wear wraparound sunglasses. This stops pollen from getting into your eyes and making them feel itchy, red, or watery. You have to be careful though, because pollen can still get stuck to your eyelashes. So you have to try and avoid rubbing them as much as possible. And when you get home, use an eye bath to wash any pollen that might be stuck on your eyelashes or on the film of your eye to make sure that you don't have any more hay fever eye allergy reactions. You have to remember that pollen is sticky, so during hay fever season, you want to make sure that you wash your hands as often as you can, because when you touch your face, you're probably going to touch your nose and your eyes anyway, and you want to stop that pollen from getting into your eyes and nose to stop any kind of hay fever reaction. Hay fever can be worse on windy days as well, so you want to try and protect your hair as much as possible. You can try wearing a hat, or when you get home, wash your hair so that you're not going to sleep with all that pollen stuck in it. Because you're going to be rubbing your face all over your pillow and your hair all over your pillow. So if you get the pollen on your pillow, it's going to get into your face and that's going to cause a hay fever reaction. And sometimes you might be wondering, that's the reason why when you wake up your hay fever feels a lot worse. It's because you've been sleeping in that pollen all night. Now I know it may be hot outside, but you want to keep your home hay fever free. So make sure to keep your windows and doors closed as much as you can. You don't want the pollen getting stuck on your bed or on your curtains. And if you do have the windows open, make sure that you clean your home regularly. Use a damp cloth to try and stick to the pollen and clear it out of the house. And when it is hot, you might have a fan at home. So if you keep fresh flowers at home, then that's going to be swishing pollen around in the air. So try not to keep freshly cut flowers or any plants that have pollen that they can release inside the home. Now this tip is for those of you that have furry friends, and I'm talking about your pets. So animals like dogs or cats that spend a lot of time outside. So if your cat likes to walk around the neighbourhood, it will probably be picking up pollen as it goes along. And if you take your dog out for a walk, especially through the grass, it's going to get pollen sticking to its coat. So make sure that you give them a wash whenever they come into the house and clean up after them. This is to prevent you getting hay fever at the end of the day. So avoid giving them a cuddle unless they're clean. And if you do touch them when they come into the house, make sure that you wash your hands before you touch your face. And the same applies to your coats. So if you do go outside and it's really windy, then you might get pollen stuck on your clothes. So when you get home, you want to take your clothes off or make sure you wipe down your coat and put them in the wash. But try to avoid hanging your clothes outside to dry because pollen can stick to them while they're drying. Make sure you dry your clothes inside your house. If you don't have a dryer, try using a dehumidifier and hang your clothes in an empty, spacious room. Going outside for a walk is a really normal activity on a hot, sunny day. When you go outside, try not to walk on freshly cut grass. There could be more pollen suspended in the air than you think. And there's nothing worse than fresh, sticky pollen sticking to you and you bringing it home and spreading it all over the house. If you're at a summer barbecue, try to avoid drinking alcohol. Alcohol can make hay fever worse, so try to cut down or avoid it completely. You might also want to avoid being around people who smoke, as smoke can make hay fever worse. This is because smoke can make your nose more sensitive to pollen, leading to you having a worse hay fever reaction. Some people say that eating local honey works wonders for their hay fever. So if you do know somebody in your local area that sells local honey that's made by the bees that pollinate in that area, then give it a go. There's no evidence to support it, but for some people it really works, so you can give it a try and it's completely harmless. If you check the weather forecast and the pollen count is high, then you know that when you go outside, you need to take all of these tips with you. And this is to try and prevent hay fever as much as possible, so you can enjoy your day out. The weather is also really helpful at checking whether or not it's going to be windy. So if it is windy, you know that you need to take extra precautions, just like these tips have mentioned: wearing sunglasses, wearing a hat, and washing your clothes when you get home. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you found these tips helpful. They were all drug-free, and let me know how you get on when you try them out. Bye!